The glow of my laptop screen flickered in the dim office, casting long shadows across the room as I sat in the late-night video call with shareholders. Papers were scattered across my desk, and the hum of the city outside my window felt distant, like a world I no longer belonged to. Then, my phone buzzed, shattering the silence. A notification from a high school group chat, dormant for 12 years, lit up the screen. One message after another poured in, each one a spark, igniting memories I'd buried long ago. "Clara, have you seen Elise's post? She's getting married tonight. You're not coming, are you?" The words glowed accusingly. Elise Harper? The golden girl of our high school? The one who danced under the spotlight as prom queen? Was about to walk down the aisle. The chat erupted with excitement, old classmates gushing about her lavish wedding. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, torn between ignoring them and responding. I typed carefully, keeping my tone neutral. "Sorry, I'm tied up with work tonight." The replies came fast, sharp as knives. "Work? Come on, Clara. What could you possibly be doing? You've been a ghost for years. Bet you're just scraping by. Stop acting like you're too busy. Just admit you're embarrassed to show your face." Elise herself joined in, her words dripping with smugness. "Remember our old bet, Clara? I said I'd marry someone who'd make you jealous. Looks like I won." My jaw tightened. A bet? I barely remembered her, let alone some childish wager. I typed back, "Don't recall any bet." The group chat exploded. Elise's fiancé is Victor Kane, CEO of Pinnacle Enterprises. They sent a fleet of luxury cars to escort her today. "What's your deal, Clara? Scared to face how far you've fallen? Bet you can't even afford a gift. Why not crowdfund a bus ticket to get here?" Elise tagged me again, her message cloaked in false kindness. "Clara, I'd love for you to witness my perfect moment. Since we're old friends, I'll ask Victor to get you a job. Maybe cleaning our new mansion." She attached the photo, herself in a flowing wedding gown, radiant under golden lights, standing beside a man in a tailored suit. My breath caught. The man was Victor Kane, my husband. The man who'd been moved into my life 3 years ago, who left notes on the fridge and cooked dinner when I worked late. The man who just minutes ago had texted me, "Hey love, I'm visiting my parents in my hometown tonight. Dinner's in the fridge, just heat it up. Love you forever." The words felt hollow now, like a melody played out of tune. Victor had always been thoughtful, quietly handling the small details of our life together. I thought it was love. Now it felt like a lie. My hands trembled as I ended the shareholder call, grabbed my coat, and drove to the address Elise had shared. The city lights blurred past, the night air thick with the scent of rain and betrayal. When I arrived, a crimson banner glowed under streetlights, celebrating Victor Kane, president of Pinnacle Enterprises, and his radiant bride. Elise stood beneath it, her white gown shimmering like moonlight on water. A crowd of our old classmates buzzed around her, their voices a chorus of awe. "Elise, you kept this so quiet. Victor Kane? The Victor Kane? He's a legend in business. You're living the dream. Don't forget us when you're sipping champagne in your penthouse." Even our old teacher, Ms. Evelyn Carter, joined in, her eyes gleaming with pride. "Elise, I always knew you were special. Grades didn't matter. You were born for this kind of life." Elise basked in their praise, her smile sharp and triumphant, like a queen surveying her court. I stood at the edge of the crowd, unnoticed, my heart pounding. Victor had been living with me for years, quietly managing Pinnacle Enterprises, a small company I'd handed him to give him purpose. I'd built my empire in the shadows, letting him take the spotlight. Now, Elise was using that spotlight to blind everyone, including herself. As I stepped forward, the crowd's eyes turned to me. Their smiles faded, replaced by smirks and whispers. One of Elise's old friends, Tara, spotted my car, a sleek black Bentley I'd bought last year, and laughed. "Clara, really? You rented a Bentley just to show up here? That's desperate." The others piled on, their voices cutting through the chilly night air. "Must have cost you a year's salary to fake it for one night. Why bother, Clara? You can't compete with Elise's life. Some people will do anything to look important." I kept my voice steady. "It's not rented, it's mine." Before I could say more, Elise stormed toward me, her eyes blazing. Without warning, her hand flew up, striking my cheek with a sharp sting. The crowd gasped, the sound echoing in the quiet night. "Your car? That's Victor's car," she spat. "I knew he was seeing someone else, and it's you, you snake. Showing up here, driving his car to rub it in my face on my wedding day." She thrust her phone toward me, swiping through photos of her and Victor, leaning against the Bentley, laughing inside it, the license plate clear as day. My stomach twisted. The car in the photos was mine, down to the tiny scratch on the door from a parking lot mishap. The crowd erupted. "No way! Clara's the mistress? She's been hiding all these years, sneaking around with Elise's man. I thought she was so perfect in high school. Turns out she's just a homewrecker." Miss Carter shook her head, her voice cold. "Clara, don't you dare say you were my student. I don't teach people with no morals." The accusations swirled around me, the crowd's eyes glinting with judgment. Some pulled out their phones, recording the scene, while others whispered behind their hands. The night felt heavier, the stars above hidden by clouds. I ripped off my coat, a designer piece I'd bought on a whim, and tossed it into a nearby bin, the fabric catching on the edge like a flag of surrender. I faced Elise, my voice low but firm. "You should ask Victor who he's really married to before you start throwing stones." Her hand flew up again, another slap stinging my face. "Don't play innocent. This is my wedding day with Victor. Everyone knows it." She thrust her phone at my car, her voice rising to a shriek. "I hate women like you, stealing what's mine." Elise grabbed a key from her purse and dragged it across my car, carving "Cheer, Burn" into the paint. The crowd cheered, feeding off her rage. Someone yelled, "Elise is Victor's real wife. Don't let this nobody ruin her day." Then, as if possessed by the same fury, Elise picked up a loose brick from the ground. She smashed it against my car's window, the glass shattering like a scream in the night. The crowd joined in, grabbing sticks, stones, anything they could find. They attacked the car, denting the hood, slashing the seats, turning my prized possession into a skeleton of metal and glass. I stood frozen, the destruction unfolding like a nightmare. But as the crowd's frenzy grew, a low rumble broke through the chaos. Headlights pierced the darkness, and a black SUV pulled up beside the wreckage. The door opened and Victor stepped out, his face pale under the streetlights. "Clara?" he called, his voice cutting through the noise. The crowd fell silent, their eyes darting between us. Elise's brick slipped from her hand, clattering to the ground. "Victor," she cried, rushing toward him. "This woman, she's trying to ruin everything. She's been driving your car, acting like she's the one you love." Victor's eyes locked on mine, filled with a mix of guilt and fear. He stepped past Elise, ignoring her outstretched arms, and walked to me. "Clara, I can explain," he said softly, his voice trembling. The crowd murmured, confusion rippling through them. Miss Carter's mouth fell open. Tara dropped the stick she'd been holding. Elise's face twisted, her confidence crumbling. "Explain what?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. You explain why she thinks she's marrying you tonight, or why you've been living a double life. Victor's shoulders slumped. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was a mistake, a stupid lie that got out of hand. Elise's scream pierced the night. What are you saying? You proposed to me. You said we'd be together forever. Victor turned to her, his expression hard. I never proposed, Elise. You assumed. You took my kindness, my time, and twisted it into something it wasn't. Clara is my wife. She's always been my wife. The crowd gasped, their whispers rising like a tide. Elise staggered back, her gown catching on the pavement. No, you're lying. You love me. I stepped closer to Victor, my voice cold. You let this happen, Victor. You let her believe she could claim you, claim my life. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Clara, please. I was trying to help her. She was struggling and I felt sorry for her. I didn't know it would go this far. Elise's laughter was sharp, desperate. Help me? You gave me your car. You took me to dinners, to parties. That was my car, I said, cutting through hers. And those dinners? Paid for with my money. Pinnacle Enterprises? That's my company. Victor's just been managing it for me. The truth hung in the air, heavy as the night itself. The crowd's faces shifted. Shock, shame, disbelief. Miss Carter covered her mouth. Tara looked at the ground. Elise's eyes filled with tears, her triumph shattered. I trusted you, I said to Victor, my voice breaking. I gave you everything, my heart, my company, my life, and you let this happen. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The night pressed in, the air thick with unspoken regrets. I turned away, leaving the wreckage of my car and my trust behind. As I walked into the darkness, the crowd parted, their whispers fading. The stars were still hidden, but the truth was clear. And in that moment, I knew, no matter what came next, I'd rebuild. Not for them, not for Victor, but for me. The night air was thick with tension, the streetlights casting jagged shadows across the wreckage of my car. The crowd's frenzy hadn't faded. Their laughter and taunts echoed like a storm in my ears. I stood trembling with rage, my cheek still stinging from Elise's slap. My voice cut through the chaos, cold and sharp. You'll all pay for this, every single one of you. My words hung in the air, but they might as well have been whispers in a hurricane. The crowd ignored me, their eyes glinting with malice. One of Elise's followers, a wiry man named Derek, pried open my car's trunk with a crowbar. Look at this, he crowed, holding up a velvet-lined case. She's got a stash of fancy junk back here. Elise sauntered over, her white gown glowing under the streetlights like a ghost. She yanked out a painting, a delicate watercolor I'd won at an auction last spring, and sneered. A lowlife like you, pretending to have taste? Pathetic. I stepped forward, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. That painting's worth more than your entire wedding. Be careful with it. The trunk held treasures I'd collected over years. Art, rare books, a carved jade figurine. Items I hadn't found a home for. Each one was a piece of my world, built from years of quiet victories. Elise's eyes flashed with fury. You don't deserve to touch something this beautiful, she spat. You're nothing but a leech clinging to Victor's wealth. She gripped the painting and tore it apart, the canvas ripping like a scream in the night. Then with a vicious grin, she stomped on the fragments, grinding them into the pavement. The crowd cheered, their voices a cruel chorus. Miss Evelyn Carter, our old teacher, gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. That's a Delocua original. It sold for over $300 million at auction. Elise shrugged, her lips curling. So what? It's Victor's money, which means it's mine. I can destroy whatever I want. Her words hit like a punch. Victor, a man who'd stumbled into my life with nothing but charm and promises, had been handed Pinnacle Enterprises to manage, a small company under my empire. His mismanagement had nearly tanked it, costing millions. Yet, here was Elise parading him as a tycoon, and the crowd ate it up, blind to the truth. They descended on the trunk like vultures, tearing apart books, smashing figurines, laughing as they destroyed what I'd built. I wanted to scream, to stop them, but their frenzy was unstoppable. I reached for my phone, fingers shaking as I started to dial the police. Before I could press call, Elise lunged, snatching the phone from my hand and smashing it against the ground. The screen shattered, glinting like broken stars on the pavement. "Calling the cops, huh? You think you have any rights, you filthy mistress?" Her eyes landed on the pendant around my neck, a small silver locket etched with the crescent moon. It wasn't flashy, but her gaze lit up with greed. "That looks expensive. Did you steal it from Victor's pocket, too?" Before I could react, she grabbed the chain and yanked, the clasp snapping against my skin. I gasped, my hand flying to my neck. "Give it back!" I shouted, my voice raw. Elise dangled the locket, smirking. "Panicking already? This must be worth a fortune." "It's not about money," I said, my throat tightening. "It's all I have left of my mother. Please." The locket wasn't just jewelry. It was my lifeline. When I was 4, I'd lain in a hospital bed, my body frail, my parents told I wouldn't survive. My mother, desperate, had climbed a mountain in the blistering summer heat to a remote chapel, praying for a miracle. She'd returned with this locket, blessed by a priest, and placed it around my neck. I woke from my coma the next day, but my mother's health never recovered. On her deathbed, she pressed the locket into my hand, her voice weak but fierce. "Keep this close, Clara. It's our bond." I'd worn it every day since, a piece of her heart against mine. Now, Elise held it like a trophy, her eyes gleaming with cruelty. "You don't deserve something this precious," she taunted. "Let's see how much it means to you." Before I could move, she hurled the locket to the ground. The silver shattered, fragments scattering across the pavement like ashes. My knees buckled, a sob tearing from my throat. "No!" I dropped to the ground, scrambling to gather the pieces, but they were too small, too broken. "You monster!" I screamed, my vision blurring with tears. I surged forward and slapped Elise hard across the face, my hand trembling with rage. She clutched her cheek, her shriek piercing the night. "You dare hit me? I'll make you pay." She turned to the crowd, her voice venomous. "Whoever teaches this tramp a lesson gets $1 million from me and Victor." The crowd turned on me like wolves. "You think you can challenge Elise? She's Victor's wife." "A broken necklace? Boo-hoo. You're used to losing, aren't you?" "Shameless gold digger, acting like you're somebody." Miss Evelyn stepped forward, her eyes cold. "Clara, you're a disgrace. Don't ever claim you were my student." They shoved me to the ground, their taunts ringing in my ears. Someone spat at me, another kicked dirt on my clothes. Elise loomed over me, her heel pressing into my hand, grinding it into the pavement. "Regret?" she laughed. "I'll never regret putting you in your place." I glared up at her, my voice low and fierce. "You'll regret this more than you know." The crowd's laughter was a blade, cutting deeper with every word. "Regret? You're nothing, Clara. Still acting tough, you're just a washed-up nobody. Stealing Elise's man and thinking you can scare us? Pathetic." As their words rained down, a low rumble broke through the night. Headlights swept across the street, and a fleet of black luxury cars rolled to a stop. The crowd froze, their jeers dying in their throats. Victor stepped out of the lead car, flanked by men in sharp suits, their faces unreadable. His presence was magnetic, his tailored coat catching the streetlight's glow. The classmates who'd pinned me down scrambled to their feet, brushing off their clothes as if they hadn't just been vandals. Elise's expression shifted from fury to saccharine sweetness. She glided toward Victor, linking her arm with his. "Darling, you're here. I've been waiting to become your wife." Victor smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Always so eager, Elise," he said, his voice smooth but distant. The crowd surged forward, their voices a chorus of flattery. "Mr. Kane, what an honor. I own a marketing firm. Any chance Pinnacle Enterprises needs a partner? Mr. Kane, try our new product. Free samples just for you." "I was Elise's lab partner in high school. Any openings at Pinnacle? I'm a fast learner." Elise's mother, Margaret, pushed through, her smile wide. "Victor, we've prepared a special tea for you. Come inside, please." Victor glanced at his watch, his expression cool. "Thank you, but we're short on time. I've booked a hotel for the reception. The cars are ready. Let's get everyone there." The crowd cheered, piling into the cars, their excitement drowning out the wreckage they'd left behind. Elise clung to Victor's arm, her smile triumphant. But as they turned to leave, Victor's eyes found mine, still kneeling in the dirt, the broken pieces of my locket in my hands. "Clara," he said softly, stepping toward me. The crowd faltered, confusion rippling through them. Elise's grip on his arm tightened, her face paling. "What are you doing? She's the one trying to ruin our day." Victor shook her off, his voice low but firm. "Elise, you don't understand. Clara's my wife. She's always been my wife." The night seemed to hold its breath. Elise's smile froze, then shattered. "What?" she whispered, her voice breaking. I stood, clutching the fragments of my locket, my voice steady, despite the ache in my chest. "You thought you could claim my life, Elise, but you've been living a lie." The crowd's whispers grew, their eyes darting between us. Margaret gasped, dropping her purse. Derek backed away, his crowbar clattering to the ground. Miss Carter's face twisted in shock. Victor turned to me, his eyes pleading. "Clara, I never meant for this to happen. I was trying to help her. She was desperate and I felt bad. I didn't know she'd take it this far." "Help her?" I said, my voice rising. "You let her destroy everything I've built. My car, my collection, my mother's locket." I held up the broken pieces, my hands shaking. "You let her think she could take my place." Elise's sob broke the silence. "You told me you loved me," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "You gave me gifts, took me to dinners." His jaw tightened. "I gave you kindness, Elise. You turned it into a fantasy." I stepped closer, my voice cold. "Those gifts? My money. That car you scratched. Mine. Pinnacle Enterprises? I built it. You've been playing pretend with my life." The truth landed like a thunderclap. The crowd's faces fell, their flattery replaced with shame. Elise sank to her knees, her gown pooling in the dirt. "No, it can't be true." I turned to Victor, my heart heavy but resolute. "You broke my trust, Victor. You let this happen." He reached for me, but I stepped back. "Clara, please, I'll fix this. I'll make it right." I shook my head, the locket's fragments cutting into my palm. Some things can't be fixed. As I walked away, the crowd parted, their silence deafening. The night stretched before me, vast and unyielding. My mother's locket was gone, but her strength lived in me. I'd rebuild, not for Victor, not for Elise, but for the woman I'd always been. The night pulsed with anticipation as the crowd moved toward the gleaming row of luxury cars, their polished surfaces reflecting the streetlights like mirrors. Elise's classmates buzzed with excitement, their voices loud with dreams of rubbing shoulders with the elite at Victor Kane's grand wedding. For them, this wasn't just a celebration, it was a ticket to a world of power and prestige, a chance to bask in the glow of Pinnacle Enterprises' president. But the air shifted, sharp and sudden, as police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder until they drowned out the chatter. Blue and red lights flashed across the street, cutting through the darkness like a warning. A squad of officers spilled from their cars, their voices booming. "Nobody move. We've got reports of assault and property damage." The festive mood shattered. The classmates, moments ago brimming with pride, now shrank back, their faces pale under the flickering lights. Some ducked their heads, avoiding the officers' gazes, while others whispered nervously. Victor turned to Elise, his brow furrowed. What's happening? Why are the police here? Elise's eyes flickered with unease, but she masked it with a pout. It's nothing, darling. My friends were just dealing with that woman who tried to ruin our day. She's been jealous of me since high school. Her classmates jumped in, eager to curry favor. Exactly. Clara's always been like that, thinking she's better than everyone else. She had the nerve to show up at Elise's wedding, causing a scene. We couldn't let her ruin everything. She's been a problem since high school. Margaret, Elise's mother, stepped forward, her voice dripping with indignation. Victor, Elise poured her heart into this wedding. That woman came here to stir up trouble. If we don't stand up to her, people will think you're weak. Victor nodded slowly, his jaw set. If she's been harassing you, Elise, then she deserves a lesson. Emboldened by his words, Elise faced the lead officer, her chin high. Officer, that woman crashed my wedding and caused a disturbance. We were just defending ourselves. The officer's eyes narrowed, unconvinced. You don't get to take justice into your own hands. Everyone involved needs to come to the station and explain. Elise's face flushed with defiance. I'm not going anywhere. This is my wedding day. She turned to Victor, her voice pleading. Darling, you're the head of Pinnacle Enterprises. Can't you fix this? You know people. The crowd latched onto her words, their desperation palpable. Yeah, Mr. Kane, you're a big shot. The police will listen to you. It's your special day. Don't let this ruin it. Pinnacle Enterprises runs this city. One word from you and this goes away. Margaret chimed in, her tone urgent. Victor, you can't let this tarnish your name. Make it right. Victor straightened, his presence commanding as he addressed the officer. I'm Victor Kane, president of Pinnacle Enterprises. I know you're chief. Can't we handle this quietly? The officer hesitated, then shook his head. You can't just attack someone in public, no matter who you are. If you want this dropped, the victim has to agree. Victor smirked, his confidence unshaken. That's simple enough. No one's going to challenge me. He turned to Elise. Where's this troublemaker? Elise pushed through the crowd, her finger jabbing toward me as I lay on the ground, battered and bruised, my clothes torn, and my mother's broken locket clutched in my hands. There she is, Victor. That's the one who tried to ruin everything. Victor's eyes landed on me, but there was no recognition, just a cold, dismissive glance. My hair was matted with dirt, my face swollen from Elise's blows. To him, I was just a stranger, a nuisance. He stepped closer, his voice dripping with condescension. So you're the one who's been picking on Elise. I'm her husband, and I don't take kindly to bullies. But since you've already taken a beating, I'll let it slide. It's my wedding day, and I don't want any trouble. You've got a few bruises, nothing major. I'll throw in some cash to make it go away. Let's keep this private, yeah? His words were a slap, casual and cruel, as if my pain was a minor inconvenience. I stayed silent, my chest tight, letting out a low, bitter laugh. Victor's eyes narrowed. What's that look? Not happy with my offer? He paused, then waved a hand dismissively. Fine, I'm in a good mood today. If you ever need help, come to Pinnacle Enterprises. I'll sort you out. Fair enough? Elise glared at me, her voice sharp. You should be thanking him. If it weren't for our history, you'd get nothing. The crowd piled on, their voices thick with resentment. You're lucky Mr. Kane's being so generous. Still acting like the perfect student? Get over yourself. Get up and thank him properly. This is probably the best thing that's ever happened to you. She's probably loving this attention. Pathetic. Their words stung, rekindling old wounds from high school when I'd been the quiet overachiever they envied. Now they saw me as nothing, and their fury burned hotter for it. Victor's patience thinned, his voice turning hard. I've been more than fair, all for Elise's sake. Don't test me. If you ruin my wedding, you'll regret it. I pushed myself up, pain shooting through my body. Brushing the dirt from my face, I met Victor's gaze. You think you're untouchable, don't you, Victor? My mind drifted to the night we met 3 years ago, under a sky torn open by rain. I'd been driving home, the storm blending, when a figure stumbled into the road. I slammed on the brakes, but not fast enough. The thud of impact echoed in my ears as Victor hit the ground. Panicked, I leapt from the car, ready to rush him to a hospital, but he stood, brushing off the rain, and said, "I'm fine," before limping into the darkness. Something about his quiet strength stayed with me. I tracked him down, learning he was a low-level employee at my father's company. It felt like fate. I joined the company as an intern, hiding my true role as the heir to keep things real. When Victor saw me there, his eyes widened with surprise. He was an intern too, just starting out. We bonded over late-night coffee runs and shared dreams, and I thought I'd found someone who saw me, not my wealth. Now, standing in the wreckage of that memory, I saw the truth. Victor hadn't just betrayed me, he'd rewritten our story to suit Elise's fantasy. "You don't even recognize me, do you, Victor?" I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. Victor frowned, confusion flickering in his eyes. Elise's smile faltered. "What are you talking about? Stop trying to steal the spotlight." I stepped closer, holding up the broken pieces of my mother's locket. "This was mine, Victor, just like the car, the company, and the life you've been living. I'm Clara, your wife." The crowd gasped, the air thick with shock. Victor's face drained from color, his confident facade crumbling. "Clara?" he whispered, his voice breaking. "No, this can't be right." Elise's scream shattered the silence. "You're lying! Victor loves me! He proposed to me!" Victor shook his head, stepping back. "I never proposed, Elise. I helped you because you were struggling. I didn't know you'd turn it into this." I laughed, the sound bitter in the cold night air. "You let her believe she could take my place. You let her destroy everything I built, my car, my mother's locket, my trust." The officers moved closer, sensing the shift. One spoke up. "Ma'am, are you pressing charges?" I looked at Elise, her gown now stained with dirt, her face twisted with rage and fear. Then at Victor, his eyes pleading for forgiveness he didn't deserve. The crowd stood frozen, their flattery replaced by shame. "Yes," I said, my voice firm. "I'm pressing charges for assault, vandalism, and theft, and I want a restraining order against both of them." Elise sobbed, collapsing to the ground. Victor reached for me, but I turned away, the broken locket heavy in my hand. "Clara, please," he begged. "I'll fix this." "I can't," I said, walking toward the police. The night stretched before me, dark and unforgiving, but I felt a spark of strength. My mother's locket was gone, but her courage wasn't. I'd rebuild, not for them, but for me. The night air was heavy, charged with the scent of rain and betrayal. The crowd of Elise's classmates buzzed with excitement, their eyes gleaming as they approached the sleek black cars lined up like sentinels under the streetlights. They imagined themselves gliding into Victor Kane's world, their laughter echoing as they pictured the grandeur of Pinnacle Enterprises' president's wedding. For them, this was a golden ticket to a life they'd only dreamed of. But the dream shattered as police sirens sliced through the night, their wail growing louder until it drowned out the chatter. Red and blue lights pulsed across the crowd, painting their faces in stark relief. Officers leapt from their vehicles, their voices sharp. "Everyone stay where you are. We've got reports of assault and vandalism." The crowd froze, their excitement replaced by panic. Faces that had been smug moments ago now turned pale, eyes darting nervously. Elise's followers shrank back, avoiding the officers' gazes. Victor turned to Elise, his voice low but edged with confusion. "What's all this? Why are the police here?" Elise's smile faltered, but she quickly masked it with a pout. "It's nothing, darling. My friends were just teaching that woman a lesson. She's been trying to ruin our day." Victor's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening. "Ruin our day? Elise, you know I'm only with you. Why would anyone cause trouble over that?" She shrugged, her voice syrupy. "Maybe I misread things. But she showed up, acting like she's better than me, trying to steal my moment. We had to show her who's in charge." Her classmates jumped in, eager to please. Clara's always been jealous of Elise, even back in high school. She crashed the wedding to make trouble. We couldn't let her walk all over Elise. Margaret, Elise's mother, stepped forward, her tone urgent. Victor, Elise has worked so hard for this day. That woman came here to humiliate her. If we don't stand firm, people will think you're weak. Victor nodded, his expression hardening. If she's been targeting Elise, she deserves what she got. Emboldened, Elise faced the lead officer, her voice steady. Officer, that woman caused a scene at my wedding. We were just protecting ourselves. The officer's frown deepened. You don't get to attack people, no matter the reason. Everyone involved is coming to the station to sort this out. Elisa's face flushed with defiance. I'm not going anywhere. This is my wedding day. She turned to Victor, her eyes pleading. Darling, you're the head of Pinnacle Enterprises. You know people. Can't you fix this? The crowd latched onto her words, their voices desperate. Mr. Kane, you're a big deal. The police will listen to you. It's your special day. Don't let this ruin it. Pinnacle Enterprises runs this city. One word from you, and this is over. Margaret added, Victor, you can't let this tarnish your reputation. Victor straightened, his presence commanding as he addressed the officer. I'm Victor Kane, president of Pinnacle Enterprises. I know you're chief. Can we handle this quietly? The officer hesitated, then shook his head. You can't just assault someone, no matter who you know. The victim has to agree to drop the charges. Victor smirked, his confidence unshaken. Easy enough. No one's going to stand against me. He turned to Elise. Where's this troublemaker? Elise pushed through the crowd, her finger jabbing toward me as I lay on the ground, bruised and battered, clutching the shattered pieces of my mother's locket. There she is, Victor. That's the one who tried to ruin everything. Victor's gaze landed on me, cold and dismissive. My hair was tangled with dirt, my face swollen from Elise's blows. To him, I was just a stranger, a nuisance. He stepped closer, his voice dripping with disdain. So you're the one harassing Elise. I'm her husband, and I don't tolerate bullies. But since you've already been dealt with, I'll let it slide. It's my wedding day, and I don't want trouble. You've got a few scratches, nothing serious. I'll toss you some cash to make it go away. Let's keep this private, all right? His words were a blade, casual and cruel. I stayed silent, my chest tight, letting out a low, bitter laugh. His eyes narrowed. What's that look? Not satisfied? He waved a hand dismissively. Fine, I'm feeling generous. If you need anything, come to Pinnacle Enterprises. I'll take care of it. Fair enough? Elise glared at me, her voice sharp. You should be grateful. If it weren't for our history, you'd get nothing. The crowd piled on, their resentment thick. You're lucky Mr. Kane's being so nice. Still acting like the perfect student? Get over yourself. Get up and thank him properly. She's probably eating up this attention. Pathetic. Their words stung, rekindling old high school rivalries. They'd always envied me, and now their fury burned hotter. Victor's patience thinned, his tone sharp. I've been more than fair for Elise's sake. Don't push me.
If you ruin my wedding, you'll regret it. I pushed myself up, pain radiating through my body. Brushing the dirt from my face, I met Victor's gaze. You think you're untouchable, don't you, Victor? My mind drifted to the night we met, 3 years ago, in a storm that turned the world to chaos. I'd been driving home, rain pounding my windshield, when a figure stumbled into the road. I slammed on the brakes, but not fast enough. The thud of impact echoed as Victor hit the ground. Panicked, I leapt out, ready to rush him to a hospital. But he stood, brushing off the rain, and said, I'm fine, before limping into the darkness. His quiet strength haunted me. I tracked him down, learning he worked at my father's company. It felt like fate. I joined as an intern, hiding my identity as the heir to keep things real. Victor was surprised to see me, but we bonded over late-night coffee runs and shared dreams. He was hardworking, always hunched over his desk, pouring his heart into every task. When he faced dismissal, I pulled strings to get him promoted. His joy that day, bright and unguarded, made my heart swell. Our romance grew from quiet moments, street food under city lights, walks through misty parks, and laughter at old movies. When I took him to meet my father, he was nervous, knowing I was the daughter of a tycoon. My father didn't care about his humble roots, but he had one condition. Victor had to join our family, as I was his only heir. I thought Victor would hesitate. Marrying into my family was unconventional, but he agreed instantly, signing a prenup that promised he'd leave with nothing if he ever betrayed me. His sincerity won me over. I gave him Pinnacle Enterprises to manage, hoping he'd shine. Even when the company faltered, I didn't care. I thought we were building a life together, rooted in love. Now, that life felt like a cruel illusion. As Victor's eyes met mine, his face drained of color. He froze, his confidence crumbling. Before he could speak, Elise cut in, her voice venomous. "Clara, who do you think you are, calling my husband by his name?" The crowd erupted. "Don't think Mr. Kane's here to save you. You're nothing without Elise. You're nobody, not even worthy of meeting him. Think you're special because you were her classmate? Look at yourself." But Victor's expression darkened. His eyes locked on me. I smirked, my voice calm but cutting. "Victor, they say I'm not worthy of your name. What do you think?" My words hit him like a shockwave. He swayed, his voice barely a whisper. "Clara." Elise lunged toward me, her hands raised to strike, but Victor grabbed her wrist, stopping her cold. She gasped, her eyes wide. "Darling, why are you protecting her? Is she your mistress?" The crowd murmured, shock rippling through them. "No way! Is Clara really his mistress? Why else would he stop Elise? She's nothing compared to Elise." Elise clung to Victor's arm, her voice desperate. "Even if she's your mistress, I'm your fiancé. Let me deal with her." Victor shoved her hand away, his voice thunderous. "Enough, Elise. You've got it all wrong." He turned to me, dropping to his knees in the dirt, his voice trembling. "Clara, honey, I'm so sorry I messed up. Please forgive me." The crowd fell silent, their jaws dropping. Elise's face twisted in disbelief. "What are you doing? Why are you calling her that?" I stood tall, the broken rocket heavy in my hand. "Victor, you promised to love me no matter what. You signed a prenup, swearing you'd leave with nothing if you ever betrayed me. Was it all a lie?" His eyes widened, panic flickering across his face. "No, Clara, I love you, I swear." "Then explain this," I said, pointing at Elise. "You let her believe she's marrying you. You let her destroy my car, my locket, my trust. You used me, Victor, and you used her, too." The crowd gasped, their whispers growing. Elise's voice cracked. "You said you were single. You said the license didn't matter, that the ceremony was enough. How could you lie to me?" Victor's face hardened. "I never proposed, Elise. I helped you because you were desperate. You twisted it into something it wasn't." I stepped closer, my voice cold. "You knew who I was from the start, didn't you? That car accident, was it planned? You stumbled into my life, played the hero, won my heart, all to get to my family's wealth. You used me, Victor, and you used her, too." He shook his head, tears in his eyes. "Clara, no! I love you! I'll fix this, I swear!" Elise sobbed, collapsing to the ground, her gown stained with dirt. The crowd stood frozen, their flattery replaced by shame. The officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, are you pressing charges?" I looked at Victor, then at Elise, their lives unraveling in the cold night air. "Yes," I said, my voice steady, "for assault, vandalism, and theft. And I want a restraining order against both of them." Victor reached for me, his voice breaking. "Clara, please." I turned away, the locket's fragments cutting into my palm. The night stretched before me, dark and unyielding, but I felt my mother's strength within me. I'd rebuild, not for them, but for the woman I was becoming. The night was alive with tension, the streetlights casting long, jagged shadows across the crowd. Elise's classmates stood frozen, their earlier arrogance replaced by dread, as Victor knelt before me, his voice trembling. "Clara, please forgive me." Elise's face twisted with fury. "Victor, why are you begging her? You're the president of Pinnacle Enterprises. Even if she's your wife, you don't need to grovel like this." Victor shot her a glare, his voice raw with anger. Because everything I have, everything I am, is because of her. I joined her family, Elise. She's the one who built me up. The crowd gasped, their smug expressions crumbling. Elise's eyes widened, her confidence shattering like glass. The classmates who taunted me now stared, realizing they'd misjudged the woman they'd attacked. I met their gazes with a cold stare, then turned to the officer. These people assaulted me, defamed me, and destroyed my property, including a Delacour painting worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I want full accountability, no mediation.
The officer nodded. Understood, ma'am. We'll need you to provide documentation of the damages, receipts, appraisals, and a medical report for your injuries. Everything will be handled. As the police rounded up Elise, her classmates, and even Miss Carter, their faces were a mix of fear and regret. The officer instructed me to head to the hospital and gather my documents before meeting them at the station. I nodded, the weight of my mother's broken locket heavy in my pocket. At the hospital, nurses tended to my bruises and cuts, their gentle hands a stark contrast to the night's violence. I collected my medical report and the receipts for my destroyed belongings, each one a reminder of what I'd lost and what I'd reclaim. By the time I reached the police station, the air was thick with tension. Elise's classmates sat in silence, their earlier bravado gone. They'd fawned over Elise, believing she was the wife of a powerful CEO, hoping to ride her coattails. Now they realized I was the one they should have respected. Their glares toward Elise were sharp, their whispers bitter. She stood alone, her gown crumpled, her face pale as the truth sank in. She'd spent the day railing against mistresses, only to discover she was the other woman. Her dream wedding had become a cruel joke, and she was its punchline. Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape, but there was none. The officers reviewed my documents, their faces grim as they calculated the damages, $790 million. Gasps echoed through the room. "No way," one classmate shouted. "She can't be that rich." "She's tricking you, officer. We went to high school with her. She was nobody. That money's gotta be dirty." The officer scoffed, his voice firm. "We've verified her background. She's the daughter of the city's wealthiest tycoon. Her fortune dwarfs anything you can imagine. Just because she keeps a low profile doesn't mean you can bully her." His words silenced them. He continued, "The damages you caused could land you in prison for years. Instead of questioning her, figure out how you're going to make this right. She's not settling for less than full accountability." The classmates' faces fell. $790 million was an impossible sum. They turned to pleading, their voices desperate. "Clara, we were classmates. You're rich. Why go after us? It was just a misunderstanding. It's just a car and some art. You're a billionaire's daughter. Don't be so petty. Your injuries aren't even that bad. Just let it go." Their audacity stunned me. I laughed, the sounds sharp and bitter. "Now you remember we're classmates. Where was that when you were beating me, smashing my car, destroying my mother's locket? You thought you could break me because I stayed quiet in high school, but I'm not your scapegoat." In high school, I'd kept to myself, my nose in books, avoiding trouble. Elise, though, thrived on it, rallying her clique to mock me, calling me aloof and pretentious. I'd endured their taunts, hoping to avoid conflict, but my silence only made them bolder. Now they'd pushed me too far, and I wouldn't let them walk away. Seeing my resolve, the classmates turned on Elise, their voices venomous. "This is your fault, Elise. You lied about being Victor's fiancée and dragged us into this. You called her a mistress when you're the one chasing a married man. You thought you were some big shot, and now we're all screwed because of you." Elise's eyes blazed. "You're blaming me? You cowards egged me on in high school, pushing me to bully anyone who looked weak. You kissed up to me when you thought I was the CEO's wife, and now you're throwing me under the bus? You're all spineless." Their shouting match erupted, insults flying like sparks. The officer stepped in, preventing a brawl. Surveillance footage sealed their fate, showing every act of vandalism and assault. Some classmates, desperate to avoid jail, sold possessions and begged for loans, only to leave humiliated after settling their debts. Others faced divorces and severed ties with family, abandoned by those unwilling to help. Elise, the ringleader, faced the heaviest debt. She turned to Victor, tears streaming down her face. "Victor, please, for the time we spent together, help me. I can't pay this, not even if I sold everything." Victor hesitated, his eyes flicking to me, pleading. "Clara, can't we show her some mercy? Just this once, for old time's sake?" I met his gaze, my voice ice cold. "Mercy? After you let her destroy my life? You played me for years, Victor, and I'm done. The divorce papers are ready. We're finished." I walked out, leaving Elise sobbing and Victor speechless. The police took Elise, her classmates, and Miss Carter into custody, each facing charges. Victor left with nothing, as our prenup promised. Life alone was strange at first, but liberating. I rebuilt my worlds piece by piece, finding strength in my independence. One crisp morning, months later, I was jogging through the park, the dawn mist curling around me. A figure emerged from the shadows. Victor, his beard unkempt, his eyes wild. He lunged, a knife glinting in his hand. "You ruined me, Clara. You took everything. If I can't have peace, neither will you." I froze, my heart racing. "Victor, put the knife down. You can still start over." "Start over?" he spat, advancing. "You turned me into a nobody. I was a CEO and now I'm nothing because of you." Before he could strike, a shadow moved, a bodyguard I'd hired after uncovering Victor's lies. With a swift kick, he sent Victor sprawling, the knife skittering across the path. I knew Victor wouldn't let go easily, so I stayed vigilant, hiring protection that shadowed me daily. "Take him to the police," I said, my voice steady. I turned and walked away, the morning air sharp against my skin. Later, I learned Victor's temper had erupted in prison, sparking a fight that left him permanently injured, his legs broken. I moved forward, reclaiming my life. I learned that my happiness didn't depend on anyone else. Alone, I was free. No lies, no betrayals, just clarity. A woman didn't need a man to shine. Loving myself was the greatest romance I could ever know.
Thanks for watching the third video. You're the real MVP for sticking around. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one.